I saw him standing by the traffic light, holding a cardboard sign with shaky letters. My hands froze on the steering wheel. The car behind me honked, but I couldn't move. That face, even though it was dirty and tired, was the same face I used to kiss goodnight. Marcus, my husband who left me 15 years ago without saying goodbye. He wore clothes that were too big for him, and his shoes had holes in them. I pulled over to the side of the road, my heart beating so fast I thought it might jump out. When I got out of the car, my legs felt like they were made of water. People walked past him like he was invisible. But I saw him. I saw the man who once carried me over the doorstep of our first apartment. I saw the man who promised to love me forever. He didn't see me at first. He was looking down at his feet, moving the sign up and down slowly. I walked closer, one step at a time. My shoes made clicking sounds on the sidewalk. When he looked up, our eyes met. His whole body went stiff like he'd seen a monster. The sign fell from his hands onto the ground. I wanted to say something, but my mouth wouldn't work. All the angry words I had saved up for years just disappeared. He looked so small, so broken. This wasn't the strong man I remembered. This was someone who looked like he hadn't eaten a real meal in months. His beard was long and messy. His hands were shaking. I finally found my voice and whispered his name. Marcus. He took a step back like he wanted to run away. Please don't look at me, he said quietly. You shouldn't have to see this. But I stayed right there. I couldn't leave. Not again. I needed answers. I needed to know why he walked out on our marriage like I meant nothing. Why did you go? I asked him. My voice came out louder than I meant it to. He closed his eyes tight like my words hurt him. I can't tell you, he whispered. Just forget you saw me here. Forget I existed. But before we continue, I want to extend a very special invitation to you. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This helps me see that you support me and enjoy my stories. And comment down below which city you are watching us from right now. Let's continue. I wasn't going anywhere. I stood there staring at him, trying to match this broken man with the person I used to know. Where was the Marcus who used to fix cars and laugh at silly jokes? Where was the man who held my hand during scary movies? This man looked like a shadow. Tell me why you're living like this, I said. After all these years, I deserve to know. He looked around nervously like someone was watching us. Then he shook his head slowly. You were never supposed to find me, he said. I did everything to keep you away from this. Keep me away from what? I demanded. What are you hiding, Marcus? He lifted his eyes to meet mine, and they were filled with tears. To protect you, he said. Everything I did was to protect you. My whole body went cold. Protect me from what? I asked, but before he could answer, his legs gave out. He started to fall, and I grabbed him just in time. Marcus, I screamed. People stopped to stare. Someone called for help. He was so light in my arms, like he weighed almost nothing. How long had he been starving? How long had he been living like this? A woman ran over with a phone pressed to her ear. An ambulance is coming, she said. I nodded but couldn't speak. I just held Marcus against me, feeling his weak breathing against my chest. The ambulance arrived with loud sirens. They lifted him onto a stretcher and checked his heart. Ma'am, are you family? Paramedic asked. I paused for a second. Yes, I said. I'm his wife. In the ambulance, they put a needle in his arm and covered him with a thin blanket. One of the paramedics looked at me with kind eyes. When did he last eat? She asked. I don't know, I said quietly. I haven't seen him in 15 years. She looked surprised but didn't ask more questions. At the hospital, doctors rushed him into a room. They told me he was very sick. His body was weak from not eating enough. His blood wasn't healthy. He had infections that hadn't been treated. I sat in the waiting room with my head in my hands. I kept hearing his words over and over. To protect you. What did that even mean? Hours passed like days. Finally, a nurse came out and said I could see him. Marcus was lying in a white bed with wires attached to his arms. His eyes were closed. I sat down next to him and watched him breathe. He looked so peaceful but also so tired. When he finally opened his eyes, he saw me and tried to sit up. "You need to leave," he said weakly. "This isn't your problem anymore." "You stopped being my problem when you left me with nothing," I said. "But I'm not leaving until you tell me everything." He stared at the ceiling for a long time. Then, with a shaky voice, he said, "I didn't leave because I wanted to. I left because someone made me." "Ooh, yes. Who could make you leave your own wife?" He turned his face away from me. "People you don't want to know about." His voice was so quiet I had to lean in close to hear him. "They said if I stayed you would get hurt. They said terrible things would happen to you. So I ran. I left everything behind so you could be safe." My throat felt tight. I didn't understand. "Or people. What did you do, Marcus?" He closed his eyes again. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "I took a deal I shouldn't have taken. I trusted people I shouldn't have trusted. And when I tried to get out, they threatened the one thing I loved most." My hands were shaking. "So you just disappeared. You let me think you didn't love me anymore." "Yes," he whispered. "Because if you hated me you wouldn't come looking. And if you didn't come looking they'd leave you alone." I sat back in the chair, my mind spinning. All those years I spent angry at him. All those nights I cried myself to sleep thinking he betrayed me. And the whole time he was protecting me. The nurse came in to check on him. She told me visiting hours were almost over, but I asked if I could stay. She looked at Marcus, then at me, and nodded. That night I didn't sleep. I sat next to his hospital bed, listening to the machines beep. I thought about everything we lost. A house, plans, our life together. And it was all taken from us by people I didn't even know. When morning came, Marcus woke up again. He looked at me with sad, tired eyes. "Why are you still here?" he asked. "Because you're still my husband," I said. "Even if the papers say different. Even if you tried to make me hate you." He looked away. "You should hate me. I ruined your life." "No," I said. "Someone else did that. And I want to know who." He didn't answer. He just stared at the wall like it held all the answers. Later that day, a doctor came in and told us Marcus needed to stay in the hospital for a while. His body was too weak to leave. "I'm going to stay with him," I told the doctor. She smiled softly and said that was good. That he needed someone. Over the next few days, Marcus started to talk more. He told me small things at first. How he had been living in shelters. How he picked up cans to trade for a little money. How he tried to forget who he used to be. But one night, when the hospital was quiet, he finally told me the real story. "I worked for a construction company," he said. "We were building big buildings for important people. One day my boss asked me to sign some papers. I didn't think much about it. I trusted him. But those papers were fake. They made it look like I stole money. Lots of money." My stomach dropped. "You didn't steal anything." "No," he said. "But they made it look like I did. And when I said I would tell the truth, they showed me pictures of you. Pictures of you going to work. Pictures of you at the store. They said one word from me, and you'd have an accident. Felt sick. So you took the blame for something you didn't do." He nodded. I had no choice. I reached out and held his hand. Felt rough and cold. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "You don't need to be sorry," he said. "I would do it again if it meant keeping you safe." We sat like that for a long time, not saying anything. Just holding hands. But I knew this wasn't over. Someone had destroyed his life. Someone had destroyed our life. And I wasn't going to let them get away with it. The next morning I started making phone calls. Called old friends. I called people who used to work with Marcus. Asked questions. Most people didn't want to talk. But one man, an old coworker named Danny, finally told me the truth. "That company was dirty," Danny said. "They stole money from the city. And when Marcus found out, they needed someone to blame. So they picked him." I asked Danny if he had proof. He said he didn't, but he knew people who might. I wrote down names. I wrote down places. When I came back to the hospital, Marcus looked scared. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I'm getting the truth out," I said. You carried this alone for too long. He grabbed my arm. They'll come after you. Let them, I said. I'm not scared anymore. That night I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about everything Marcus went through. The shame, the fear, the hunger. All because he loved me. And I hated myself for all the years I spent hating him. I didn't know, I whispered into the dark room. I didn't know you were protecting me. Over the next few days I kept digging. I found a lawyer who agreed to listen. I showed him everything Danny told me. The lawyer's face went serious. This is true, he said. This is bigger than just your husband. This is about powerful people stealing from everyone. Can you help him? Yes. Can try, the lawyer said. But it won't be easy. I don't care how hard it is, I told him. I just want his name cleared. Meanwhile, Marcus was getting a little stronger. The doctors said the food and medicine were helping. But his spirit was still broken. One afternoon I sat with him and told him about the lawyer. His eyes went wide with fear. You shouldn't have done that, he said. Now they'll know. Good, I said. Let them know. I'm not hiding anymore. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said something that broke my heart. I never stopped loving you. Even when I had to leave. Even when I had to hurt you. I always loved you. Tears ran down my face. I leaned over and hugged him as tight as I could without hurting him. I love you too, I whispered. And we're going to fix this. Together. But things didn't get easier. Strange people started showing up at the hospital. Men in suits who asked the nurses questions. Cars parked outside that didn't belong to anyone. Marcus saw them too. They're watching, he said. I know, I replied. But we're not backing down. One night I got a phone call from an unknown number. A man's voice said, drop it. Walk away. Or you'll regret it. I hung up without saying a word. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't going to stop. The next day the lawyer called me. We have enough to file a case, he said. But I need you to be ready. This is going to get ugly. I'm ready, I said. And I meant it. When I told Marcus, he cried. Real, heavy tears that he'd been holding back for years. What if this doesn't work? He asked. Then at least we tried, I said. At least we didn't stay silent. Before continuing, tell me here in the comments what you think of this story so far and what you would do in my place. Don't leave the video because what comes next will give you goosebumps. The lawyer filed the papers in court. Took weeks, but finally we got a court date. Marcus was still in the hospital, but he was strong enough to attend. On the day of the hearing, I helped him get dressed in clothes I bought for him. He looked more like himself. Still thin, still tired, but there was something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Oh. We walked into the courtroom together. I held his hand tight. The people who ruined his life were sitting on the other side. Men in expensive suits with cold faces. They didn't even look at us. The judge came in and everyone stood up. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. The lawyer presented all the evidence. The fake documents. The stolen money. The threats. He told the whole story. And for the first time people were listening. When it was Marcus's turn to speak, he stood up slowly. His voice was weak at first, but it got stronger. I didn't steal anything, he said. I was a good man trying to do my job. And they destroyed me for it. They took my life, my marriage, everything, just to save themselves. The room was completely silent. Even the judge looked serious. Then it was my turn. I stood up and told them what happened to me. How I lost everything. How I didn't know why. How I spent years hating a man who only loved me. I told them about finding Marcus on the street, holding a sign, barely alive. I told them how he sacrificed everything to keep me safe. When I finished, there were tears in my eyes. But I didn't feel weak. Felt strong. After the hearing, we had to wait for the judge's decision. Felt like forever. Marcus and I sat outside the courtroom, holding hands, not saying much. Finally, the judge called us back in. After reviewing the evidence, the judge said, "It is clear that Marcus was wrongfully accused. The charges against him are dropped. All of them." I felt like I couldn't breathe. Marcus squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. The judge continued, Furthermore, an investigation will be opened into the company and all individuals involved in this fraud. Marcus looked at me with tears streaming down his face. It's over, he whispered. We won. Outside the courtroom, the lawyer shook our hands. You two are brave, he said. Thank you, I said. But I knew we weren't done yet. Marcus still needed to heal. Not just his body but his heart. Over the next few weeks, things started to change. The news started reporting on the case. People who worked at the construction company came forward with their own stories. Slowly, the whole dirty operation started to fall apart. Marcus was finally released from the hospital. I took him to my apartment. It wasn't big, but it was warm and safe. He stood in the doorway, looking around like he couldn't believe it was real. You don't have to do this, he said. Yes, I do, I replied. You're not alone anymore. That first night, he slept in a real bed for the first time in years. I heard him crying softly in the other room. I wanted to go to him, but I knew he needed space. The next morning we sat together and drank coffee. It felt strange and familiar at the same time. Like we were meeting each other all over again. I'm sorry for everything, he said. I know, I replied. But you don't have to keep apologizing. You did what you had to do. He looked down at his cup. I thought you'd be happier without me. That's the dumbest thing you ever thought, I said. He smiled a little. It was the first real smile I'd seen from him. Over time, Marcus started to get better. He gained weight. His face didn't look so tired. He even started laughing again. But there were hard days too. Days when he couldn't get out of bed. Days when the memories were too heavy. On those days I just sat with him. I didn't try to fix it. I just stayed. One afternoon he said something that surprised me. I want to go back to work. Not at that company. But I want to use my hands again. I want to build things. Smiled. Then we'll find you a job. And we did. A small repair shop hired him to fix equipment. It wasn't much, but it made him happy. He came home every day with grease on his hands and stories to tell. Slowly we started to rebuild our life. Not the old one. That was gone forever. But a new one. A stronger one. Meanwhile, the court case against the company kept growing. More charges. More arrests. People who thought they were untouchable were now facing justice. And it all started because Marcus finally told the truth. One day, a reporter asked to interview us. At first, Marcus didn't want to. But I convinced him. Your story can help other people, I said. People who are scared to speak up. So we did the interview. We told everything. And when it aired on TV, my phone didn't stop ringing. People called to say thank you. To say we gave them courage. To say they were inspired. Marcus watched the news that night with tears in his eyes. Maybe it was worth it, he said. All the pain. If it means something good came from it. I held his hand. It was always worth it. 'Cause you're still here. And so am I. Months passed. The people responsible for the fraud were sentenced to prison. Some for many years. The company was shut down. And Marcus's name was officially cleared in every record. We received a letter from the court. It said Marcus was owed money for all the suffering he went through. It wasn't enough to replace what was lost, but it was something. What do you want to do with it? I asked him. He thought for a moment. I want to help people like me. People living on the streets. People who've lost hope. So we did. We donated money to shelters. We volunteered to serve food. We talked to people who felt invisible. And every time Marcus handed someone a warm meal, I saw a light in his eyes that had been gone for so long. One evening, we were walking through the same area where I first found him. We passed the spot where he used to stand with his cardboard sign. He stopped and stared at it for a long time. What are you thinking? I asked. I'm thinking about how close I came to giving up, he said. What stopped you? You, he said simply. Even when I didn't see you. Even when I thought you hated me. I kept going because I knew you were out there. I hugged him right there on the street, not caring who saw. We stood like that for a while, just holding each other. Then we walked home together, hand in hand. Life wasn't perfect after that. We still had struggles. Marcus still had nightmares. I still had moments of anger about the years we lost. But we faced it together. We went to therapy. We talked about our feelings. We learned how to trust again. And slowly, day by day, we healed. 1 year after I found him, we did something we never thought we'd do again. We got remarried. It was a small ceremony. Just a few close friends. No fancy decorations. No expensive cake. Just two people who loved each other, promising to never let go again. When the officiant said, "You may kiss," Marcus pulled me close and kissed me like it was our first time. And in a way it was. Because we weren't the same people we were before. We were stronger, braver, more grateful. After the wedding, we moved to a small house on the edge of town. It had a little garden where Marcus could grow vegetables. Every morning, he'd wake up early and work in the dirt, planting seeds and watching them grow. It made him happy in a way I can't explain. One day he called me outside. "Look," he said, pointing to a tiny green sprout pushing through the soil. Smiled. "It's growing. Just like us," he said. Kissed him on the cheek. Just like us. We spent our days simply working, cooking together, watching the sunset, talking about nothing and everything. And for the first time in a long, long time we were at peace. But the past never fully lets go. Sometimes late at night, Marcus would wake up sweating and shaking. I'd hold him and remind him he was safe. "It's over," I'd whisper. "They can't hurt you anymore." And slowly, his breathing would calm and he'd fall back asleep. I had my own moments too. Times when I'd see a man on the street asking for help, and I'd freeze, remembering what it felt like to find Marcus like that. But instead of walking away, I'd stop. Give them money. Give them food. I'd look them in the eye and remind them they mattered. Because I knew what it was like to be invisible. And I never wanted anyone to feel that way. Marcus and I also started speaking at community events. We shared our story with people who were struggling. We told them that no matter how dark things got, there was always hope. People would come up to us afterward with tears in their eyes. "Thank you," they'd say. I needed to hear that. And every time Marcus would smile and say, "If we can make it, so can you." Our life became about more than just surviving. It became about helping others survive too. We opened a small organization to support people who were falsely accused or living on the streets. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had time. And we had love. That's what mattered most. Marcus would sit with men who reminded him of himself. He'd listen to their stories. He'd help them find jobs. He'd give them hope. And watching him do that made me fall in love with him all over again. One day, a young man came to our organization. He was dirty, thin, and scared. He reminded me so much of Marcus the day I found him. "My boss set me up," the young man said. "Now everyone thinks I'm a thief." Marcus sat down next to him. "I know exactly how that feels," he said. And then he told his story. By the end, the young man was crying. "You really understand," he said. "We do," Marcus replied. "And we're going to help you." Over the next few months, we worked with that young man. We connected him with a lawyer. We helped him gather evidence. And eventually, just like Marcus, his name was cleared. The day we got the news, the young man hugged Marcus so tight. "Thank you," he said. "You saved my life." Marcus shook his head. "You saved your own life. We just walked with you." Stories like that became our purpose. Every person we helped felt like a piece of Marcus's pain being healed. And every time someone's name was cleared, it was like a little bit of justice for all the years he lost. But we also made time for ourselves. We took trips to the beach. We watched old movies. We danced in the kitchen to songs from when we were young. We laughed. We cried. We lived. And that was the biggest victory of all. Because for so long we weren't really living. We were just surviving. But now we were alive. Truly, deeply alive. One evening we sat on our porch watching the sky turn pink and orange. "Do you ever wish things were different?" asked Marcus. He thought about it for a moment. "Sometimes," he said. "But then I think about where we are now. And I realize we wouldn't be here if things hadn't happened the way they did." I leaned my head on his shoulder. "So you don't regret it?" "I regret the pain," he said. "I regret the time we lost. But I don't regret protecting you. I'd do it all over again. I closed my eyes and felt the warmth of the sun on my face. Me too, I whispered. I'd find you all over again. We sat there until the stars came out, holding hands, grateful for every single moment. 'Cause we knew how precious life was. We knew how easily it could be taken away. And we knew that love, real love, was worth fighting for. Even when it hurt. Even when it seemed impossible. Even when the whole world was against you. Love was always worth it. Years went by. We grew older. Our hair turned gray. Our bodies moved slower. But our love only grew stronger. People would ask us, what's the secret to staying together? And Marcus would always say the same thing. We chose each other. Every single day. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. I'd add, and we never gave up. Not on each other. Not on the truth. Not on hope. Young couples would visit us, asking for advice. We'd tell them our story. We'd show them that marriage wasn't always easy. That life could be cruel and unfair. But that if you held on to each other, you could survive anything. One couple told us, you two give us hope. And Marcus smiled. That's all we ever wanted to give. As we got older, Marcus's health started to fade. The years of living on the streets had damaged his body in ways that couldn't be fully healed. He developed problems with his heart. With his lungs. The doctors did what they could, but we both knew the truth. Time was running out. But Marcus didn't complain. He'd wake up every morning, kiss me, and say, another day with you is a gift. And I'd kiss him back and say, then let's not waste it. We made the most of every moment. We went to places we'd always wanted to see. We ate foods we'd never tried. We told each other I love you 100 times a day. Because we knew that one day we wouldn't be able to say it anymore. One night Marcus woke me up in the middle of the night. I need to tell you something, he said. I sat up worried. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, he said. I just need you to know that you are the best thing that ever happened to me. Finding you again, rebuilding our life, it was all worth it. Tears filled my eyes. You're the best thing that ever happened to me too. He held my hand. Promise me something. Anything, I said. When I'm gone, don't stop living. Don't stop helping people. Don't stop loving. I shook my head. You're not going anywhere. Not yet. He smiled sadly. We both know that's not true. But it's okay. I'm ready. I'm not ready, I whispered. I know, he said. But you will be. And when that time comes, I need you to keep going. For both of us. I couldn't speak. I just held him and cried. A few months later, Marcus passed away peacefully in his sleep. I was lying next to him, holding his hand. One moment he was breathing and the next he was gone. Just like that. The pain was unbearable. It felt like someone had ripped my heart out of my chest. But even in my grief I felt something else. Gratitude. 'Cause I got him back. I got to love him again. I got to tell him I was sorry. I got to hear him say he loved me. Not everyone gets that chance. And even though he was gone, I knew he was finally at peace. No more fear. No more pain. No more running. Just rest. I buried him in a simple grave under a tree. The headstone read, Marcus. Beloved husband. Protector. Hero. At the funeral, people came from all over. People we had helped. People whose lives we had touched. They told stories about Marcus. About his kindness. His courage. His strength. And I realized that even though he was gone, his legacy would live on. After the funeral, I went home to our little house. It felt empty without him. But I remembered his words. Don't stop living. So I didn't. I kept working with the organization. Kept helping people. Kept telling our story. Because that's what he would have wanted. Every morning I'd wake up and talk to him. I'd tell him about my day. About the people we helped. About the lives we changed. And even though he couldn't answer, I felt him with me. In the wind. In the sunshine. In the quiet moments. One day a woman came to me. She was older with kind eyes. She said, I heard your story. And I just want to say thank you. For what? Yes. For showing me that love is real, she said. That it's worth fighting for. I smiled through my tears. It is. It really is. She hugged me, and I felt Marcus's presence so strongly in that moment. This was why we went through everything we went through. So that others could see that love wins. Even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Love always wins. Years passed. I grew older and slower. But I never stopped. I kept Marcus's memory alive by living the way he taught me. With courage. With kindness. With hope. One evening I sat on our porch watching the sunset, just like we used to do together. I closed my eyes and felt the warmth on my face. And for a moment I could feel him sitting next to me, holding my hand, telling me he loved me, smiled. I love you too, I whispered into the wind. And I always will. When people ask me if I have any regrets, I tell them no. Because every moment, even the painful ones, led me to a love that was real. A love that was worth everything. And that's all anyone can really ask for in this life. Now, at the end of my own life, I look back and see it all clearly. The pain had a purpose. The suffering had meaning. And the love we shared changed not just us, but everyone we touched. Marcus gave up everything to protect me. And in return, I spent the rest of my life honoring that sacrifice. By living fully. By loving deeply. By helping others find their way out of the darkness. Just like he helped me. And when my time comes, I know I'll see him again. And he'll smile at me and say, "You did good." And I'll smile back and say, "We did good. Together." 'Cause that's what love is. It's not about the easy days. It's about the hard ones. The days when you want to give up but you don't. The days when everything is falling apart but you hold on anyway. That's love. And it's the most powerful thing in the world. So if you're going through something hard right now, I want you to know this. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Because even in the darkest moments, there is light. Even when you think you're alone, you're not. And even when love seems impossible, it's not. Marcus and I are proof of that. We lost everything. We were broken. We were separated. But love brought us back together. And love healed us. So hold on. Keep fighting. Keep believing. Because your story isn't over yet. And you never know what beautiful things are waiting for you on the other side of the pain. I'm living proof that miracles happen. That second chances are real. That love never dies. Just changes form. Today, I sit in my little house, surrounded by memories. Pictures of Marcus and me. Letters from people we helped. Awards we received for our work. And I feel full. Not because my life was easy, but because it was meaningful. I found my ex-husband living on the streets, broken and afraid. And the truth he told me made me cry. But it also set us both free. Free from lies. Free from fear. Free from the chains that had bound us for so long. And in that freedom we found love again. A love stronger than before. A love that could not be destroyed. And that love is what I carry with me now. Every single day. Until we meet again. So yes, I found my ex living on the streets. And yes, the truth he told me made me cry. But those tears weren't just from sadness. They were from relief. From understanding. From love. Because I finally knew why he left. I finally knew he never stopped loving me. And I finally knew that all the pain, all the loss, all the suffering had a purpose. To protect me. Save me. To give me a chance at life. And he succeeded. Because I'm still here. Still standing. Still loving. Still living. And I will carry his love with me until the day I die. And even beyond that. Because true love doesn't end. Just transforms. And Marcus's love transformed me into someone stronger. Someone braver. Someone better. And for that I will be forever grateful. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe.